Hey everyone, welcome to 2412. I'm Professor Algio, and you are enrolled in my online course for the fall 2023. And so I just kind of wanted to do an overview of the course and go over the syllabus, the calendar, where you're going to complete your assignments, all that good stuff. So starting here, this is where I'll post announcements, just maybe reminding you all that we have an exam coming up and the deadline's approaching or something to that effect. And the link to this video you're watching will be right here. And so let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to go here. We're going to go to content. And here you're going to find the syllabus, the calendar, our textbook, which is going to be a free one, which is good. And same thing with your homework. Your homework will be done within D2L, so you're not going to have to pay for any services or anything like that. Then we have the lecture videos that go with the textbook, and then we have some additional stuff that we'll look at. Then we have our study guides for our exams, and then our work submissions, so you can post your submissions for the different exams we have. So let's just start at the top. So if you click on syllabus, it'll take you, or right here, here's the link. I have it already open over here, which will be bigger. So I'm going to open it on this page. Let's see here. I thought I had it. Oh, there we go. Right. Nope. Let me grab it. All right, here we are. So here is my email. So you can email me through D2L, or this is one that I check multiple times a day. I will check the D2L one also, but this one I actually have on my phone, so I can check it more often. And so we have office hours. If you want to meet up on WebEx Monday through Friday, you just have to let me know. Just send me an email request. But the most popular way for students to interact with me is going to be through email. They'll typically just send me a screenshot or just give me a detailed description of what question you need help from, if it's from the homework or the book or whatever. And I'll be more than happy to send you back a little video explanation of whatever's giving you some trouble. I will be in person on campus Monday through Thursday, and I'll be in my office from about from 10 to 11:30. There's other times I'd be available for in person. You just have to ask. So as I was telling you, so materials needed. You're not going to have to get a textbook. You're not going to have to worry about any of that. You do obviously need a computer, and it needs to be one with Windows or a Mac computer. The exams cannot be taken on Chromebooks, so that's kind of important. Now, if you're kind of concerned about that, you can always go check out a computer from the college. And so if you go to this, if you go to this link right here, it'll explain how to do that. And from my understanding, it is actually a very simple process, and they have lots of these computers if you need to check one out. You'll also need a webcam for the exams because we are going to use Respondus Monitor, and I will go into a little bit more detail about that in a little bit. I priced webcams. I found them on Amazon for as cheap as $15, so you don't need to get anything too fancy. Calculators, really a scientific is fine. The graphing ones are a little bit more user-friendly. In a lot of the videos where we use the calculator, it's typically going to be a graphing calculator. They're just a little bit easier to input stuff. On the exams, there'll be a scientific available, a digital one for you. And then also, if you wanted to use the Desmos calculator, you'll be allowed to do that during the exams also. And once again, I'll kind of show you how to do all that in a minute. Okay, how are we going to be evaluated? So we have homework checks that are going to be in D2L, and that's going to be 15% of your grade. Then we have 4 regular exams. That'll be 65%, and then the cumulative final will be 20%. And so everything will get completed here within D2L. Here's the grade breakdown, which we should be familiar with. And the grading policy, there's a lot of stuff in here that I'm just going to kind of skip through, and you can read on your own. And if you have questions, you can ask me. Okay, so the homework checks, what I'm going to tell you about that is you actually get 3 attempts on them, okay? So if you do a homework check and you don't do very well, go back, look at your notes, watch the videos, and if you're still struggling after the second one, make sure you contact me so that we can kind of iron out anything that you're having difficulties with before you do your 3rd attempt. And then at the end of the semester, I will drop your 2 lowest homework checks. For exams, so we have our 4 regular exams. All the exams will be completed on D2L, and will require that webcam I was telling you about in order to use the Respondus monitoring during the exam. No exceptions. The final exam is required, and it will cover everything in those exams. And once again, I will give you a review outline for the final exam. Now, I don't drop any of your exam grades, but what I will do is I'll take your final exam grade and replace your lowest exam score. So let's say one of your exams, let's just say you made a 50 on it, right? That was your lowest one. And on the final exam, you made an 85. Well, that 50 will get replaced with that 85. Now, if your final exam's not higher than any of your regular exams, well, then obviously I won't replace it with a lower grade. But I've never actually had that happen before. Okay. Exam policies. So the way you're going to find your exams, same place where your homework's going to be, and I'm going to show you that in a moment. You take the exam once, you'll get 3 hours. You can use your own, you can use whatever calculator you want. I'm not going to limit you on that. If you want to use the Desmos, that's fine also, and I'll kind of show you how to access that in a moment. Students are permitted to use one standard sheet of paper with notes or examples on each exam. So for each exam, you can basically have a cheat sheet. And so my advice would be to go through the review that's going to be supplied for you and basically work out those questions and try to fit it on one sheet of paper, and you might have to decide what has to won't make the cut because you don't have enough room or whatever. So that's part of the process of studying. And so that's kind of the idea behind this, is that if you're allowed to use one sheet of paper on the exam, you'll have to put some thought into it. As far as like formula sheets, I'm actually going to be pretty lenient on that. If you want to use your trig function identities, I'm actually not going to require you to memorize all of those. So you could use a formula sheet if you want, separate from your cheat sheet. Let's see, what else? Okay, partial credit. Okay, so at the end of each exam, you have 1 hour to submit your scratch work. Okay, now I do want it nice and orderly and in numerical order. And that will give you the opportunity of getting partial credit. Okay, that's the only way you can get partial credit, is by submitting your scratch work. Now, if you don't submit it, that's okay, but then you forfeit the opportunity of any partial credit. So just kind of keep that in mind. Once again, I'm not going to read through this whole thing right here, but make sure you do take the time to read through this if you plan on doing that. Okay, let's see. When you email me, just make sure you're pretty clear what class you're in, because I am teaching 3 different courses this semester. And so just make sure you include that you're in Math 2412, please. Accommodations. If you have any accommodations, please make sure I'm aware of those so that I can honor those. As I told you, no makeups. The only thing I will do is I'll drop your lowest 2 homeworks and replace your lowest exam score with how you perform on the final exam. The withdrawal, the last day to drop, if that is going to be November 13th. And let's see. I think that kind of does it for the syllabus. Oh, I did have a detailed explanation down here of what's kind of expected during exams. So all exams will be taken using Respondus Lockdown Browser and Respondus Monitor. And I'm going to walk you through how to do that in a moment. But there's just some tips to make sure you're doing it right. You're going to kind of want to have your camera in a spot where you can see your whole workspace. Okay, so this is some examples of what will work, and then here's some examples that we don't want to see, where I can't see what you're doing down here. You don't want to cover your eyes, all that kind of stuff. You know, you want to make sure that you have a good connection when you're doing it, and if you are sharing a household with other people, you might want to ask them not to be streaming movies while you're trying to take an exam, just to play it safe. Just different things to think about. Also, no Chromebooks. The Chromebooks will not work with the Respondus monitor. So, you can have your calculator. You can have, obviously, your writing utensils, blank paper, no spirals or folders. Students are permitted to use one standard sheet of paper with notes, examples on each exam, including the final exam. And the formula sheet will be fine. I might actually just embed that on the exam. I will let y'all know as that gets closer, so that won't be an issue. Academic integrity, you need to make sure that this is your work, you're doing the work. And just a couple other things to remember. Find a location with a flat surface. Don't take the exam while laying in bed. Find a quiet place to take the exam. Do not wear headphones or ear pods or a hat or a hoodie. So, all right. So that is the syllabus. I know I went over it quick, and so if you have questions about that, let me know. And then back here, here's our calendar. Once again, I'm going to open it up over here. All right, so here is our calendar. So these are not the days that you need to complete everything. This is just an ideal pacing that if I were teaching this course in person, this would be about the pace I would go if it were a Tuesday, Thursday class or whatever. The only thing you need to worry about is what's in red, the due dates. So those are the firm dates. Now, I would try to pace yourself, as best you can, but things happen and you might get a week behind and you'll just have to catch up in the next week, right? But once again, let's look at the firm dates. So the orientation quiz is going to be due by September 5th. So you want to make sure you complete that. And that will be, and I will go over that in a minute, but that basically is going to be based off of the syllabus and this calendar. So if you have those two things in front of you, you should be all right. You shouldn't have any problems with that orientation quiz. Then we also have an algebra prereq and trigonometry prereq quizzes. Those are going to be due on September 7th. Now, those don't pertain to our book. Those are supposed to be a review. And so remember, you get 3 attempts. So you might just want to try it and see how you do. And if you don't do very well, I do have some videos to help you out, and I'm going to show you where to find those in a moment. And so those quizzes are going to be due September 7th. Then here in the highlighted blocks is going to tell you your window for taking exams. So exam 1 will be available September 21st through the 25th. So that's plenty of time to take that, okay? And then any homework associated with exam 1 will be due also on September 25th. So you're going to have homeworks that are based off of trig equations part 1, part 2, parabolas, ellipses, and hyperbolas. And so that'll all pertain to exam 1. And so then you can see exam 2, kind of the same thing. You're given a window. All the homework associated with that would be all these homework assignments prior to the exam. Same thing with exam 3, exam 4, and then we have our final exam down here. All right. So let's see, what is next? So the textbook. So if you go here, you can download the textbook. It's a couple megabytes. And once again, I'll just pull that up over here. And this was a textbook that was created by one of our professors on campus, Ellen Turnell. And so she's been nice enough to share it with everybody in the department. And so it's a nice free resource for us. And so it starts out with vectors. We kind of jump around the textbook. And so I will show you kind of how you can kind of follow along in the book with the lecture videos and all that kind of stuff. So like going back up here, we're starting with trig equations part 1. And so the way we're going to find that is from this other link I have, which is going to be the lecture videos and textbook lessons. So let me go to that. That is right here. So when you click on that, this document's going to come up. And so here's Unit 1, Unit 2, and so on, Unit 3. Here are the video links, and here are the assignments in the book. Now, these are paper assignments. Those are for some extra practice, but that won't be graded as part of your homework. The homework is embedded in D2L. But this is some good extra practice, especially when you're preparing for an exam to get some extra practice. And so these are just links here. If you click on any of these, I'll click on one here. So it pops up. Some of these will have little
least favorite
little commercials that you'll have to just wait 5 seconds and then you can skip them. Going back here, also it has the page number. So let's see, trig equations part 1 should be page 49. So let's go back here and let's see, 49, which might not be exactly 49 in the oh, that's page 6. Okay, hold on. Let's see, 40. There we go. 46, 47. Here we go. Oh, trig equations part 1. Here we are. And so if you watch that video link I pulled up, let me go ahead and let's go ahead and go back to that so I can show you.
In this lesson, we're going to be looking at how to solve trig equations. And these are going to be easy and they're going to progressively.
So here we are. So sine of x equals 1/2. And let's see, where were we? Sine of x equals 1/2. There's number 1 and so on. So let's go back to D2L. So we've looked at the syllabus, the calendar, our e-text. Now, okay, here's some extra, or here's the link to that, to the videos that I showed you. And then here are some additional videos. Now, these are going to be videos that are going to help you with those review quizzes. Let me pull up the, let me pull this back up, my calendar. So remember these algebra prereq quiz and the trigonometry prereq quiz? These are the videos that will help support that. So like I said, you might want to try it before you watch the video, see what you remember. And then this even tells you what the topics are. So quadratic formula, square root method, factoring, and so on. And then we come down here and we got the trigonometry review, the unit circle, quadrant check, and all that kind of stuff, reference angles. And so if you need to come back and watch some of these videos, they're typically like 5 minutes on average. They're not super long. So I know there's a bunch of them, but they're not very long, and that will help you with those prereq quizzes. Also, here's your basic trig function sheet. So this would probably be something that I would embed on the exam, so I wouldn't require you to remember all of this stuff here. Let me see. Well, this isn't what I thought it was. Let me see if I can find the other one. So this document has a lot more than I was thinking, but for something on the exam that I would allow you to use would be the identities part right here. And what I'll probably do is, like I said, I'll embed that as an attachment for an exam so you can pull it up if you needed to reference it. Okay, so let's see, where are we going to next? Let's see, so we've done all that. Okay, down here, this is where you'll submit your work for partial credit. Here are the directions for this, and it looks a little different on the student side. There'll be a link to upload, and so you'll upload your Scratch work for exam 1. So let's go ahead and look at the quizzes now, where you're going to find your homework and your exam. So you'll go to course activities and click on quizzes. And you'll see right here we've got our orientation quiz, and then we have our prereq for algebra, trigonometry, and then we start the homework that is based on the book. Trig equations part 1, part 2, parabolas, ellipses, hyperbolas, and then here's your first exam down here. So it says future quizzes because it's not available yet, and then your homeworks for your other units and so on. So on this orientation quiz, I typically would not use the Respondus Monitor lockdown browser and all that kind of stuff, but I did it on purpose because I want you, it's not so much I'm concerned about cheating or something like that on the orientation quiz. It's more about making sure you know how to use the services, to make sure you know how to do the Respondus lockdown browser. So I'm going to go ahead and walk y'all through that real quick. So when you first open this up, so right here, this is kind of has the description right here. So this quiz is basically just going to have about the policies of the course, which basically is just going to be over the syllabus and course calendar. So the lockdown browser and response monitor will be enabled. This will give you a chance to make sure you have everything set up properly before the first exam. So the reason I'm having you do this is to make sure you know how this works before you get started. And let's see. So now I'm going to start the quiz. And so what it's going to do is it's going to, if you don't already have okay, it did not. Hold on one second. Okay, here we go. I had to log in as a student. So here I am. It's going to say download and install the latest version of the Lockdown browser. So if you already have it from another course, great. If not, you'll have to download all this stuff. The browser, it'll take 1-2 minutes. It doesn't take very long. It's very simple. Then I'm going to go ahead and launch it now. And so open up the browser. Yes. Okay. All right, so the issue here is it's not going to let me record and open this up. So give me 1 second. Okay, so it won't let me record, which makes sense. That's kind of part of the whole idea of the lockdown browser is you're not allowed to kind of do that kind of stuff. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and still kind of give you a little idea of what this looks like here. So once you download the lockdown browser, you're going to kind of go through a step-by-step process where it's going to do some face recognition, and then you have to show your student ID or, you know, any type of government-issued license is going to be fine, or identification. And just a couple steps we'll walk you through. It shouldn't take you more than 2 or 3 minutes to kind of get through the process, and then the quiz will open up for you. And so this is what it looks like. So this is just the orientation quiz. Like I said, I'm not really looking for cheating on this. That's not really what this is about. It's about you going through the process and making sure you understand how it works and what the expectations are with the Respondus lockdown and the monitor. So what I'll do on the exams is that there's links that I'm going to make available for you. I'll have them embedded on the very first question. So here I embedded the Desmos calculator. So if I click that, it'll open it up for me and I can mess around with it. When you're in the lockdown browser, it'll actually open it up in a separate window. So you'll have 2 different windows open so you can go back and forth. And then also, as I was referring earlier to using the trig identities, I can embed that in there as a document that you can click on and open. And so that'll be kind of how that works. Desmos, I mean, it's a pretty cool calculator. If you're familiar with it, it can be helpful. If you're not familiar with it, I would probably just stick with a scientific, or graphing calculators are usually pretty user-friendly. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. But that's kind of what that's about. So the rest of your homework assignments, you're not going to have that type of security. That's more or less about y'all just figuring this out before we have our first exam. But other than that, I think that kind of covers everything, at least to get things going. And if I missed anything, or if you have any questions, you know, don't hesitate to contact me, and I'll try to clear anything up for you guys. So I'm looking forward to a great semester, and so if you do have any issues with any of the material, you know, reach out to me as soon as possible so we can get you up to speed. I want everybody to do well, and so I look forward to hearing from you guys.